Attention passionate New York Giants fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC East and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on New York Giants' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true New York Giants fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and New York Giants fans. Let's get to the news. Hey, Giants fans, buckle up because the NFL landscape is buzzing with some intriguing rumors. And one of the most talked about involves a potential blockbuster move that could reshape the NFC East and, more specifically, have a huge impact on the New York Giants' future. Reports have emerged that the Atlanta Falcons, a team that's been quietly building a competitive roster, are open to moving their talented tight end, Kyle Pitts, who was a first-round pick back in 2021. Now, this isn't just any tight end. Pitts is considered one of the most promising young playmakers in the league. His combination of size, speed, and athleticism is truly rare, and he's still just 24 years old. The Falcons, according to NFL insiders like Jordan Schultz, are willing to listen to trade offers, but only if they get the right deal, something that would start with at least a day 2 pick, which means a second or third round selection. So the big question is, could the Giants, a team that's been steadily rebuilding and looking for offensive weapons, be interested in making a move for Pitts? The idea has some fans excited, especially considering the potential upgrade Pitts could bring to their offense. But as always, there's a lot to unpack here, and not everyone agrees that this is a move the Giants should pursue. Let's dig into why this story is gaining so much traction, and more importantly, whether it makes sense for the Giants to even entertain the idea. First, let's talk about the Giants' current roster situation and cap space. Now, everyone knows that the Giants aren't exactly swimming in cap room right now. As of the latest reports, they have about $947 million in cap space, according to Over the Cap, making them the third lowest in the league. That's a tight squeeze when you consider they still need to sign their rookies, including defensive lineman Darius Alexander, a promising third-round pick, and running back Cam Scatibo, a fourth-rounder. Plus, they're likely to want some cap flexibility for the upcoming summer and the season itself. To make room for a player like Pitts, the Giants would probably need to free up some space, and that's where things get complicated. The two most likely candidates for restructuring contracts are defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence II, who's been a dominant force on the line, and tackle Andrew Thomas, a cornerstone of their offensive line. Both players are vital pieces, but restructuring their deals to create space is a delicate dance, one that could have long-term implications for the team's salary structure. Now here's where things get interesting. Let's say the Giants are interested in Pitts. Even if the Falcons are willing to trade him, and even if the Giants are willing to part with some draft capital, there's a significant obstacle: draft picks. The report says it would take at least a day 2 pick to make this happen. But the Giants, as we know, don't have a third-round pick right now. That's because they used their third-round selection as part of the package to acquire Jackson Dart, their rookie quarterback, last year. So, unless they're willing to trade their second-round pick, which is a valuable asset, they simply wouldn't be able to make a deal, especially if they want to keep their draft capital for other needs. And let's not forget, depending on how the Giants finish this season and where they land in the draft order, trading away their second-round pick could be a strategic mistake. It would leave them with only one top 100 pick in the upcoming draft, which could hurt their ability to address multiple needs early on. Joe Scone, the general manager, is known for being cautious and strategic with his draft capital, so it seems unlikely he'd be willing to part with that second-rounder unless there's a clear, long-term benefit. Another element to consider is the team's current tight end situation. The Giants drafted Theo Johnson last year, a player with a lot of potential, and he's expected to play a significant role this season. So, adding Pitts, a player with a hefty fifth-year option costing nearly $11 million, might not be a priority right now, especially given the financial and draft capital constraints. But beyond the cap and draft issues, there's the question of fit. Pitts is an exceptional talent, but he's also a player who thrives in a certain offensive system, one that maximizes his ability to create mismatches and stretch the field. The Giants have been working on building a balanced attack, but they haven't quite reached that elite level yet. Would bringing Pitts in provide enough of a boost to justify the trade, especially when considering the team's immediate needs on defense, offensive line, and secondary playmakers? That's the big debate. Now, let's take a moment to reflect on the bigger picture. The Giants are in a bit of a transitional phase. They have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart, who showed flashes last season, and an emerging defense that's been improving under the guidance of head coach Brian Daboll. The offensive line, anchored by Thomas and others, is solid but could still use reinforcements. The addition of a dynamic tight end like Pitts could theoretically open up new options for Dart and make the offense more unpredictable. But at what cost? Draft capital, cap space, and long-term financial commitments are all factors that weigh heavily in any trade decision. It's also worth noting that the Giants have been cautious about making big splashes in recent years. Joe Scone has shown a penchant for building through the draft and making strategic additions rather than overpaying for veterans or making blockbuster trades. That's part of their identity, building a sustainable, competitive team over time. So even though Pitts would be a game changer, it seems unlikely that they'd pull the trigger unless the trade aligns perfectly with their long-term vision. Yet this rumor has fans buzzing because it highlights just how much the Giants are looking to elevate their offense. They know they need more playmakers, especially in the passing game, to take the next step in their development. And Pitts, with his talent and youth, fits that mold perfectly if the circumstances were right. But the reality is, with current cap constraints and draft pick limitations, the Giants probably aren't the most realistic landing spot at this moment. That said, never say never in the NFL, especially during the trade deadline or offseason when teams are constantly reevaluating their rosters and cap strategies. What does this tell us about the Giants' future? Well, it underscores their ambitions. They're not content just to compete. They want to compete at a high level, and sometimes that involves making bold moves. But they also have to play it smart, especially given their financial constraints. They're in a position where they need to be strategic, balancing immediate upgrades with long-term stability. The offseason will be crucial. Will they find a way to create more cap space? Will they make a move that surprises everyone? Or will they stick to their draft and develop philosophy, trusting their young core and internal development? Whatever happens, the message is clear. The Giants are aiming for more, and they're willing to explore all options to get there, including the possibility of adding a player like Kyle Pitts down the line if circumstances align. And let's not forget, this kind of speculation is part of what makes following the NFL so exciting. Every offseason, every trade, every signing can change the course of a franchise. The Giants are no strangers to big moves, whether it's their Super Bowl-winning teams of the past or their recent efforts to rebuild. The next few months will be telling. Will they pull off a big trade? Will they find another way to upgrade their roster? Or will they stick to their current plan and continue developing their young talent? In the end, the potential interest in Kyle Pitts reflects the team's desire to contend and to give Daniel Jones or Jackson Dart as many weapons as possible. But the practical realities of salary cap and draft capital mean that, for now, this remains a rumor, an intriguing one, no doubt, but one that requires a lot of moving parts to come together. Still, it's a reminder that the Giants are always in the mix, always looking for ways to improve, and always aiming higher than what some might expect. So Giants fans, keep your eyes on this story. The offseason is just getting started, and surprises are always around the corner. Whether Pitts becomes a Giant or not, the team's direction will be fascinating to watch. And remember, the key to all of this is patience and strategic thinking. The Giants are building something sustainable, and each move, big or small, is a piece of that puzzle. Pause here just for a second. If you want the YouTube algorithm to keep recommending the latest New York Giants news to you, it's super important that you leave a like on this video. Go ahead, it's quick, and it makes a big difference. Thank you. Now let us continue with the big reveal. And now, New York Giants fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this potential Pitts trade? Do you think it makes sense for the Giants? Would you be willing to part with a future draft pick for a player with Pitts' upside? Or do you believe the team should focus on developing their current roster and draft picks? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because your opinion matters so much to us and to the Giants. This is the kind of discussion that fuels our passion and keeps the NFL conversation alive. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, rumors, and insights on all things Giants, so stay tuned for the latest news. Thanks for being with us, and as always, let's go Giants.